My name is Bill Atkinson. It's an honor to help out in this way, emceeing. This is my first time doing a workshop, a meeting like this. I usually MC to the local powwows out here, and then a few times I went up at the Peguis and helped out there. And I just want to welcome to the staff and students from Gnu School. I thank you guys for showing up here and coming in to listen in with some of our speakers here this morning. We're going to have a good lunch today. Before we move on with our few speakers here, we have our singers here. We'd like to ask them to sing an opening song here for us. I don't know if they're going to come up here or... Okay, they'll come up here. This is Jason Henry and Farrell Mandamin Atkinson. If you can all stand. All right, thank you there, singers, for that good song. We'll welcome these boys back later this afternoon when we close out our meeting. In the meantime, we're going to go ahead here with our first speaker. Okay, we're going to ask Donis to come up here and speak a little of what went on yesterday, and maybe she can add on to a little bit more. But I'll turn the mic over here to Donis Kennedy.
Miigwech. I just want to say you did a really good job emceeing. I didn't know it was your first time emceeing a meeting like this because everything yesterday went really smoothly, as though we had organized for months. Bonjour, and tanawe magnetok, minawana go gishikok nindash nakaz, wabje shi and do dem, bagwanish kuzi bing and donji, nishing mede. Ojaboy nishna be quayendao, nimi gwetcha and dan, the goshnan, Oma Endayan. So Ninga Gweneta Nishnabem. Bangiet the go in Dojabem. So I speak only a little bit of Ojibwe. I'm trying to speak Ojibwe well, and I'm really happy to be here in my home community. This is where I'm from. I'm Martin Clan, and I just feel really good about being here. Have spending my time here yesterday and coming back. When I came back, I stopped at the bridge because I saw Migizi flying. So I was lucky enough to have remembered my tobacco. So I could stop and pull over and offer tobacco. And then I come in here and then we're getting ready to offer our sema in a good way. So I just wanted to let you guys know that that's what um, that we're thought of, and that what we're doing here is like we're being looked at, that we're being listened to, the work that we are doing. And the song and the prayer and the fact that we start that way, it just adds to the energy, good energy to make us feel, so that we're able to feel really strong and good about who we are, good about where we come from, good about our ancestors, and all the work that was done, so that we're able to do this work. So I just want to say Chimi Gwech for that, because it's really in a good way. And I don't know how I'm going to summarize the whole day yesterday. I wasn't here in the afternoon either, but because I had a commitment I couldn't reschedule. But I listened to it on the way, on the drive here. I listened to the parts that I missed until I got to that part, and I was like, oh yeah, I walked in that time. So it was like I was here all day. And I don't know how I'm going to put it into a little bit, but I will try recount what was said. And I might take it out of order, but I'm trying to pick up what I can pick up in a short amount of time, so we can continue our work and hear our speakers. I think one of the first things that I would say is that Asininen Iban, Asininen Iban, was remembered here. Our relative, he was remembered for the work that he was asked to do when he was 12 years old. That he was selected to go to the treaty at the Stone Fort and to listen. He was entrusted with that responsibility to carry forward the knowledge of the treaty, the knowledge of what was said there, and the knowledge of our thoughts, the thoughts of our ancestors that they had for us. And he was also remembered as that 12-year-old boy, and then as an old man. So the memories that are connected from our uncles to their uncles, remembering the Asininin Iban as an old man, coming to when treaty was remembered in this community. They have I don't know, you could go down to the Forks right now, like when you go to the Forks this year, and they dress up in RCMP, like in their full dress, and then hand $5. And they talk about the treaty, and they recite the treaty, that paper. And he was remembered. And I haven't worked on my Ojibwe enough, but to say that he would say in the language and be upset, and he would strike his stick on the table and say, "You lie. I remember what was promised." And we also talked about that written treaty, that was written beforehand, that was written before the treaty was signed. And so we also remembered that on August, is it 2nd? August 2nd. That August 2nd, I'm really feeling for a synonym right now. But August 2nd was that evening, it was decided that people were going to leave. Our people who are there representing us, the clan leadership, those are the ones who were there for us. They decided they were going to leave. They said there's nothing here for us, nothing to add to for us, for our relatives. And they were going to get up and they were going to leave. And so there was a lot of promises that were later described as outlandish promises. And I remember reading in the documents that our community put forward for the TLE and that my mom worked on. I remember in those documents it was being described as, you would think every Indian was going to have like their own horse and carry and buggy and house and like all this stuff, like this huge life. That's what they were promised. And so we heard about people who've researched the written side and understanding of the treaty. And in the historical writings, you can see that the written part of the treaty, if you were to go and to research Treaty 1 and you read that document was written prior to the agreement. That document doesn't contain the agreement that was made. There were outside promises. And you can read about some of that in the written record. But I think what is important too is that that written record, it doesn't contain the thoughts that our ancestors had to carry on. That was carried by a synonym to us. And so we heard people recount their grandparents, what they remembered, what they were told of who we are as Anishinaabe, of the treaty, but also of what we carry for the people. So we heard not only about the treaty, we also heard about our creation story. We heard about our governance structures, our clan system. We heard about our relationships with the animals, like the moose. And we heard about our societies, our Ogichta societies, our clan grandmothers, our clan grandfathers. The words of our elders who are now passed on were brought forward. Like Ekiwanini Iban was talked about, and talked about how our people, we relied upon the white hair. We relied upon the white hair. And so that was our way to sit and to listen as young people, and then as not so young people, and then as not so old people. Until we're old people, I won't look anywhere. And then all of a sudden, we're the elders that other people are coming to sit with. That's our way of remembering. But it's more than just our way of remembering. It's also our way of learning. It's also our way of living. It's also our way of connecting. It's also our way of belonging. It's also our way of health. It's also our way of strength. It's also our way of living, a good life. And we also talked about some of the impacts that we've felt in our life that our ancestors have felt in their lives. We talked about the work that's in front of us and also the challenges that come from years of oppression and devaluing treaty, devaluing our understanding and who we are as Anishinaabe, and our relationship to these lands, to our mother, the earth, because it wasn't us who were given treaty rights. That was said very clearly. We didn't gain treaty rights from the treaty. Our relationship to these lands and who we are, we were placed here. That is in our creation story. That's in who we are as Anishinaabe. How we, from whence was lowered man, Anishinaabe, to this place. So, and we talked about and started to talk about some of the promises that were made in our memory. Things like the expansion clause. I think that's important, that our ancestors asked about, what about when our children and grandchildren become many? What happens then? And that's really important because they were coming out of epidemics where they lost a lot of their relatives. So they knew that there were more of us before. There will be more of us again. What about them? And that's the expansion clause, where they were promised, we will find more land out west. I think also, I want to remember too what was said, is that we can't be given back our own land. We went there with a relationship to our homelands, to this earth, to this where we were placed. We went to the treaty as part of that relationship already. And I want to remember also some of those documents that our community put in the Treaty Land Entitlement in the 90s. Somebody said, oh, just recently in the 90s, just recently that happened 30 years ago. But it's the way we count time as Anishinaabe, because we have that connection to our elders, because we rely upon the white hair. We have a connection to our great-grandparents who are connected to their great-grandparents, to their great-grandparents. So we count time differently than others who are not sitting with their elders. So I want to remember that. And I also want to remember the words that were said, that our ancestors didn't think about the earth as a piece of property. Our ancestors understood her to be our mother. And what I read in those documents in the TLE was that one of the reasons that our ancestors went there is they saw the trees being cut, clear cut. And one of the motivations for them to go to make treaty was to save some of those trees, to speak for our relatives who were spoken of yesterday as well. Our uncle said, I shouldn't have to ask the government, can I go cut down a tree for my nephew who needs life and wellness? It's not for me to go and ask the government, can I go and cut down that tree? And I want to extend that thought, because from our teachings, we have no responsibility. We don't have to ask permission from a foreign government to go and to harvest a tree. But we do have to listen to our ancestors and how we were taught to take our sema, our tobacco, when we're asking, and we still need to ask that tree. Will you help us? Help us, our relative. Bless us. My nephew needs life. We want for him to live well. There is somebody we need to ask, but it's not the government. We ask the tree. You know, that's our relationship. And those are the things that we want to put together. A go to win. Like treaty. We have treaties that extend beyond this treaty number 1. We have treaties with Dakota through the Big Drum. We have treaties with the Haudenosaunee through the two-row wampum that was actually through the other wampum belts that were remembered. And we also have different treaties with the Crown that come in the form of the two-row. So there's multiple wampums that we are a part of through our ancestors. So, and we have treaty that is not with human beings. We have treaty with animals. We have treaty with trees. We have treaties with this earth that were created when, in our creation story, through our relationship with Wewena Bojo and the great flood that was remembered. You know, and that little one that I forgot, I don't know how to say it in Ojibwe, but maybe it'll be remembered again, or I can go rewind. Ojashk. Ojashk. Yeah, the muskrat, you know. And that's the one, he's really small if you see a muskrat. And I think the way I heard that story, and I hear it many different ways, and each way I love. I love hearing all our stories every way they're told. And the way I was told, they teased him and said, "What are you going to do?" Because all the bigger, stronger swimmers tried and gave up. And that little one, they didn't think that one could do it. And it went so far down that it lost its life and drowned and came back up that way. But it had that little tiny bit of earth with which our uncle and our relatives, the animals in creation, remade this land that we're on. So I know I didn't get everybody. I know we're also talking about the medical treaty right. And I remember reading about this, that there was an argument. Our ancestors, the elders some of them didn't want that treaty right to health. Because they said our medicines, we can rely upon our relatives. You know, like that one, the muskrat, who goes and eats medicines that they carry, that if the hunters and the trappers bring to us, can bring us health too. And they wanted to rely upon them. So there was kind of that negotiation, and then they said, well, we could do both. You know, so we had both that chest. And we heard about how since we've had the wellness clinic, there's been more of a recognition of that treaty right to health, but it's been taken away little bit by disqualifying through non-insured health benefits or cutting the budget of traditional wellness or all these things that we really need to understand our medical right to health. And that's one of the things I wanted to hear today was before the wellness center. It was because it wasn't just given to us, the wellness center. It was because our people remembered our treaty right to health and advocated for that on an international level, around the world. That's part of, we had people who wrote for us about that and who published about that. And that's part of why we have the Wellness Center, is because of the work of our community on our treaty right to health. And also, we were remembered about the children and the work that's being done now, because in their law, I can't remember, 92, I think, Bill C-92, that's working at our relationships to bring our children home, but also so that they can stay in their families, their extended families, and their communities. That, all of our children have a right to know who they are, who they're related to feel connected, and to feel that they belong. And that where they belong and the people of whom they come from have a gift, have value, have purpose, have a work in this world. So I don't know if I missed I'm sure I missed a lot because we talked for a long time and I hope I didn't talk that long, but that's how much I have to contribute to remembering what was said yesterday and the work that's in front of us. So, miigwech bizendawiyek.
Okay, I'm gonna turn the mic over here to our next presenter here, our speaker, Counselor Terrence Nelson, and he's gonna do a thing here with the students.
Jimmy Witch and the name of the look, Mashkode Keys, Nijnikas, Bishu and Dute. I want to let you guys know it is so good for us right now that we have our students here from the new school. Welcome you. I'm going to probably make you very shy because I'm going to get you to stand up and state your name and how old you are, because we're here trying to present you with information that you will carry with you as you get older. And so maybe 20 years from now, when you're, I don't know how old you will be 20 years from now, but you'll be able to carry some of the message that we are giving you today. In 1859, a man was born named Asini Inin. That was his name. He was 12 years old at the time of the treaty. He was told by the elders or the Anishinaabe people to sit there and remember. So there was a lot of, there was some young people that was always put at the very important events to remember what was being discussed. And that was their job in their life, to carry that message forward. So you as young people here, we're so happy to have you here, to be listening to what's happening here. Asini Inen, being 12 years old at the 1871 Treaty Number 1, we blow the whistle basically to ask our ancestors to come and see what we're doing. So I want to let you see this over here. There's your Treaty Number 1 land. It's hard to see, but Treaty 1. expanded a little bit, but there's the Treaty Number 1 area. And I want to ask you all, basically the young people, when you look at, when you're in Winnipeg, the whole city of Winnipeg, that's all Treaty Number 1. That's all your land. So every time you go see a house there, that's my house, you could tell them. It sits on your land. So I'd like to ask them, each of these, you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I think you got 10 students here, right? Yeah, I'd like to ask them, can you start on that side? The little guy that's, can you stand up? Please stand up.
Face the camera.
And face the camera. You're being seen all over. How old are you? What's your name? Oh, hang on. Hang on. Nice and loud, boy. Oh, don't be shy. Here. Okay. Are you going to face the camera? Say your name.
I'm Gianni. I'm 13, and I'm in grade 8 at Good News School.
There's a camera over there. Don't be shy.
I'm Kylan, and I'm 13, and I'm grade 8 at Canoe School.
Good one. That's good. That's good. You guys can do it. You guys can do it. No worries.
Like where?
Face the camera.
Hi, my name is Regan. I'm 13 and I'm in grade 8 and I'm from Canoe School.
Whoa. Wow. Good one. Good one. So, I don't know if I can reach you guys, but come on up. Come on up. Okay, here. You face the camera. Okay, introduce yourself.
I'm Nate.
You're what?
I'm Nate.
You're 8 years old?
No, Nate. How old is it?
Nate, how old are you, Nate?
11.
11?
Yes.
And you're in what grade?
Grade 6.
Grade 6. All right. Okay, Nate, thank you. Yeah, that's how you do it. Nice and good. Don't worry about it. Don't be shy. Go ahead. Face the camera.
I'm Zach. I'm 11 and I'm in grade 6.
Thank you. Oh, wow. Good one. Don't be shy, guys. Don't be shy. Just show them how it's done. You don't have to be shy. Okay. Face the camera over there. And you, here, hang on to this. Just say your name, how old you are, and what grade you're in. Okay? Your name.
Marley. 11 and I'm in grade 6.
What's your name again? Marty? Okay, okay. Good. Thank you, Marty. Yeah. Come here. Remember, when you're 20 years old, 20 years from now, you're going to be, when you're 20 years old, boy, you're going to have to be able to speak too. Okay, go ahead. Look over there. Your name?
Talon?
Alice?
Talon.
Alice, okay. And how old are you?
12.
12? Great. What grade?
7.
7? Good. Thank you. Wow. Okay. Hey, don't be shy. Remember, you got to learn how to do this.
I'm Jocelyn. I'm 11 and I'm in grade 6.
Here, her name is Jocelyn. She's 11 years old. She's grade 6. Okay. Grade 7, sorry. Okay, just take the mic. Okay, just look over there. Say, what's your name?
I'm Brooklyn.
You're what?
I'm Brooklyn.
Brooklyn?
I'm 12 years old and I'm in grade 7.
Good. Good one. Good. Good. That's the way to speak. Nice and nice and solid.
I'm Carol. I'm 13 and I'm in grade 8.
Carolyn? Carol. Okay. Carol, 13 years old, grade 8. So, okay. Teachers? Don't be shy now, okay?
I'm gonna sing a song. Just kidding. My name's Shannon. I'm old and I'm the EA for grade 7 and 8.
Hi, my name's Janelle Anderson. I am a teacher for the grade 7, 8. I've been here for 5 years at GNU School.
Thank you. I think that's Sam's daughter, right? Sam Anderson's daughter.
My name is Wanda Nelson. I'm 53 and I worked at GNU School for 6 years. I'm an EA.
Ooh, so that's why we wanted to welcome our students here and our young people. That remember when I talk about a Nin being 12 years old in 1871. He died in 1946 at the age of 87. And throughout his life, he carried all that message about what was promised at the treaty, and he would say when the Indian agent came over here, he would bang his stick in front of the Indian agent, and his cane, and he told that Indian agent, he says, "Kawin," he said, "No." "Kigio nim," he said, "You're lying." He cannot shagi ashatamakut Anishinaabe. He said, they always said, I know what the promise that was made to the Anishinaabe people at the treaty. I was there, he said to them. So that's important for us to remember that 12-year-old in 1871, CNN, he carried that message all the way to 1946. And my dad remembered him. My dad was 17 years old when CNN died. And his younger brother, Fejgogabu, Joe Pierre, he died in 1965, somewhere around there? 1965, eh? And so he carried that same message that Sininen had. And Sininen said, he said what was said at the Treaty 1. And the reserves were supposed to be sovereign. They were sovereign. We were sovereign before the treaty, we were sovereign during the treaty, and we were sovereign after the treaty. And our rights didn't come from the treaty. It came from the fact that we were Anishinaabe people in the original lands. So he said, Sininen said, "Kaini ka tabigit nasi amtigoshi jipindiget mash konigale." What that meant in English was that they would never let the white man come into the reserve. That was the promise that was made at the treaty. It's very, very important for you to understand that. It means that our government here in Roseau River or in the reserve lands, they're sovereign. They have the right to govern themselves in the way that they feel fit. They didn't have to ask permission from the federal government, the province, the municipalities. In the reserve lands, the lands that we reserved for ourselves, we made sure that the other governments couldn't come in. That in fact we should have gaming, we should have cannabis, we could have whatever we build the way that we want to build. I know sometimes our people get angry with the idea that somehow the government can give us land. Ed Wood, I remember Ed Wood speaking one time. and he was a guy from MKO, and he said, you know, the only land that they had, he said, was whatever dirt they had underneath their fingers. He said, the rest of the land was ours, he says. So they couldn't give them any land. That's what Ed Wood said. He says, the only land that those guys had was whatever dirt they had underneath their fingers, he said. The rest of the land was ours. Kind of sounds funny, but it's, you know, it is a forceful way of saying it is our land. It isn't something that somebody's going to give to us. So when you say it as reserve lands, it isn't the fact that somebody gave us those lands. Those were ours to begin with. We reserved these lands for ourselves, and we gave the immigrants access to our lands. So anytime you look under the in Winnipeg, take a look at all the houses in Winnipeg. Take a look at all the lands that are in Winnipeg when you drive around or look around. Those are all under our lands. So I'd like to go ahead with some of this other stuff. Just to give you an understanding, Treaty 1 is 16,700 square miles of land. That's how big the land is. It's about on the other side of Morden, and that you go that way. Then by Sprague. So this is how big the Treaty 1 area is. So you're right near Brandon, in the whole city of Winnipeg, and all the way this way. And I remember this guy named, when I was 15 years old, this old man was talking to me. That was Gilbert Martin. And I didn't know anything about treaty. I was 15 years old. A kid that didn't really have any understanding of treaty or anything else like that. But Gilbert Martin was there, and he said, our reserve land went all the way to Morden, he said, and all the way to Brandon, he said. And I laughed, and I said, hey, our reserve's not that big, because I didn't know anything. I was 15 years old. But here's an elder that was telling us, here's how big our land was. And it's only later that I started to understand this. This is how big our area was for Treaty 1. So I'm just going to give you that. Here's what's going to happen. Go ahead. Roseau River and Nabe First Nation were 9 miles north of the U.S. border, second busiest customs port in Western Canada. We're located about 55 miles south of Winnipeg, junction of the Red River and Roseau River. Okay, go ahead. We have to continue to move ahead with some of these new reservation lands. Go ahead, keep on going. Okay, so here's the there's 75 acres at Highway 6 that belongs to Roseau River. We have that's our lands here, 75 acres over there. So we have the largest reserve near the city of Winnipeg, but only about 3 acres of that has been developed. There's the Red Sun Gas Bar and the gaming center there. That's the only income that we're coming. 72 acres of that land is not developed. So when you look at it, 16,218 acres under TLE and 7,949 acres under the 1903 surrender. So we're looking at 24,167 acres of new reservation lands that we can purchase and convert to reserve status within this Treaty 1 area that we talked about. So we're also looking at Emerson and other areas that we can look at to purchase lands and convert them back to reserve status for Roseau River. There's right now 2,800 people in Roseau River that are band members, and 24,167 acres of reservation lands that can be created. So what we're looking at is somehow making sure that each individual band member is going to end up having some lands. So even at 4 acres per person, times 3,000 tribal members, we're looking at 12,000 acres of this 24,000 acres that we have, that we need to make sure that everybody has their own personal lands. Because the treaty said 160 acres per family of 5. So the problem that we have is that all of our reservation lands here is in common and it's under the control of the chief and council. And it's very, very important that we get out of the Indian Act system and put land in with the personal, with the people. Let you go and have and develop your own land, create your own wealth, because everything that happens in Roseau River here in common has to be approved by chief and council, because that's the Indian Act. That's the Indian Act. That's in common lands. So it's, I know it's very, that information that I've given you about Treaty 1, your grade 8, grade 6, grade 7, I know it's a little bit too complicated right now for you to understand it, but as you grow up, as you're going through school, you'll start to understand a lot more of that. Go ahead. So we signed a 1996 agreement with Canada called Treaty Land Entitlement, and Canada recognized that they didn't complete 5,861 acres of land into reserve status in 1871. So they said, okay, let's expand that to 16,218 acres. Go ahead. So we have about 16 million in our TLE account. We have about 85 million in our 1903 surrender CDA. So we have about close to $100 million worth of capital in our 2 settlements. Go ahead. I'll just leave that out of there. Go ahead. Okay, go ahead. So I just wanted to, I think there's some other one there regarding West Bank. New Buffalo. Was that the one you were just seeing? Yeah, that was the one we were on. Okay, go down to 24, I think, on that one. Number 24 on that New Buffalo. Okay. 24, no. I guess that's not the one. Go ahead, the different one. But anyway, in West Bank First Nation near Kelowna, this man here, his name is Ron Derrickson. I would ask, I'll give this to the school, and you guys can maybe kind of teach a little bit about it. But West Bank First Nation, what Grand Chief Ronald Derrickson did, in the 1980s, he purchased 100 acres of his own land near the reserve. And when he became chief, he got it converted to reserve status. But because it was his own personal land, like he bought the land, he got into the reserve status. It became what you call a CP, a certificate of possession. It was his own reserve. It wasn't owned by the whole community. It was his land, 100 acres. So what he did was that when it got converted to reserve status, he invited investors from Kelowna to come and help him develop that 100 acres. And they were very, very scared to do that. But in the end, if you can find that information on West Bank, what happened was that in West Bank, they have about $50 million a year that comes into their community because they tax the businesses. They have a Walmart there now on that land. They have Costco's. They have so they have land codes. They have so this is here. This one here is, I'll show you that one. That's Swan Lake. They're on near Headingley, and they have built their own commercial buildings. Oh yeah, okay. Anyway, just for your information, that's where we're going to head to in terms of try the other one. I want to get them a quick understanding of what at West Bank. Yeah, right there, there, West Bank. Okay, go ahead. Let me turn on the lights. Turn off the lights a little bit. Go back a little bit. One more. One more. West Bank First Nation has no unemployment, created over 3,500 jobs, 1 billion in gross domestic product, has between 35 and 50 million budget for their First Nation of their own money. And the next one here, go ahead. So what they did is that they have 5,340 acres under their reserve lands. So they built in shopping malls. They have $1 billion GDP per year. They collect taxes annually. So they also, I guess they tax people. And then they also have, so they have 4,200 homes. 4,200 homes on the reserve. When you look at it, the Roseau River has about 207 houses. They have 4,200 homes. 10 years of self-government, 90,000, I guess, metric timber, 169 building permits issued in 2017, $35 million annual budget, 457 businesses. 457 businesses in their urban reserve. 1.4 million square feet of commercial real estate, 3,500 jobs. And so these are the things that we can do in Roseau River. We can create urban reserves in the city of Winnipeg, and we can create, because we have 16,218 acres under our TLE and 7,949 acres. So we want to look at privately held reservation lands so that each of you would end up with your own lands. And the way they do it here, 80% of the benefit goes to the individual owning the land, and 20% goes to the First Nation. So by 2005, Ron Derrickson, it was reported that Ron Derrickson was worth $100 million of his own personal wealth. And there's been a lot of estimates about how much he's worth today, so I won't try to say that, but some people have estimated him to be worth $700 million, his own personal wealth. So that's how you create wealth. That's why we're looking at TLE, Treaty 1. We have the capability to create more reservation lands within our reserves. And I think Peter will always tell you that you don't have to ask permission from the government. It's our lands. We can create our own reservation lands, and we can do that ourselves. But we have to be able to move ahead. So if any of this information here, for those people that are listening on the links and stuff like that, we're going to be able to send them this information in terms of allowing them to see the files. Somehow we're going to be able to, I'll get my nephew here, who is very well versed on internets and stuff like that, better than me. So let's go back and we'll show them. Yeah, you have to. Okay, take a look at the map in Manitoba. Here's where we're at. Here's the Roseau River. And we've got to remember something about treaty. Treaty isn't just treaty number 1. It's also the Red Lake. We're also part of the Pembina Bands Treaty in Red Lake, Pembina Bands. It was signed with the United States government in 1863. So we're access between Turtle Mountains, White Earth, Red Lake, and in Minnesota here, Leech Lake. Those are our relatives, our Anishinaabe people. It's 11 million acres of land in the 1863 Red Lake Pembina Bands Treaty. We're part of that. So one of the things I want to tell you young people, I want to see, I'm not going to be around, but I want you guys to be working on creating a Roseau River Anishinaabe First Nation land at Pembina, North Dakota. I want to tell you that 20 years from now or 30 years from now, I would hope that you help create a reserve land in Pembina, North Dakota on the American side. Because we were known as Pembina Bands. And if you do create an urban reserve or a reservation land in Pembina, North Dakota, make sure there's a statue there when you open up your casino, your Roseau River Casino, and make sure the statue is going like this to Manitoba. Because you're going to create your casino, and they never allowed us to do our casino here. We should have had a casino at Emerson. It didn't happen. But we want to make sure that our reservation in Pembina, North Dakota has a casino. So I say that much to you this morning. Let's go a little bit here. Here's the to show the TLE lands. There was a. Just keep going on. Check it out here. Look. Oh, it's there somewhere. But it's it just shows you all the TLEs that have been signed in the province of Manitoba. So anyway, there's going to be there it is. There's that one here. Look, check. Give them that information there. Look. Go one more. Yeah, one more. Okay. Here's the Manitoba First Nations that have TLE agreements with Canada. And Long Plains, 1994, they signed for 26,000 acres. Swan Lake, 13,000, 1995. Roseau River, 16,218 acres, 1996. And we only converted 75 acres of that 16,218 acres. So that was done in 2007. Brokenhead, 14,481. Rolling River, 47,000. Buffalo Point, 4,000 acres. Peg was 166,000 acres. So of the Southern First Nations, there's 288,000 acres of new reservation lands possible within the Treaty 1 area. Next one, there's 12 First Nations in northern Manitoba that signed TLE, Barons Land, all of these other ones here, their total is 896,461 acres of land under their TLE. There's 6 Northern First Nations that signed TLE in 1997 but remain independent TLE, and that's Fox Lake, Marcel Colomb. I don't even know how to say some of these names. But anyway, so they have, go ahead. So they have, no, just keep going. Oh, the other way. So in total, in Manitoba, there's, if you look at Southern First Nations combined, 288,000. Northern First Nations combined, 896,000 acres. Northern Independent TLEs, 137,000. And a total of 1.3 million acres of new reservation lands that can be created under the Manitoba TLE system. So that's very important information for people out there. they're looking at this and saying, wow, this can happen. So in Saskatchewan, they did that same thing. One of the most successful First Nations that did TLE was a Dene band called English River. And as soon as they got their TLE settlement, they bought some land in Saskatoon and converted it to reserve status, and so they were getting their money from Saskatoon back up to their community. So it's not just, like I said, you can be creating, $30 to $50 million a year back from the new lands, easily. So that's what we're looking forward to as Roseau River. So that's what I'm trying to tell you as young people here. You'll be working on new lands, and hopefully that you will be owning your own lands as we move forward. So I urge you, as you're growing up, work on making sure that you have your own lands. That's what the treaty says. 160 acres per family of 5. So you've got to have your own lands, not only your own family lands, but your own personal lands. So that's what I'm going to leave with you. Miigwech, thank you for that. Anybody got questions and you want a break, or do you have any questions? See, when you're young people, 20 years from now, how old will you be? Most of you, as you said, you're 13, 12, 11. You'll be in your 30s. And you'll be Kirby's age, and you'll be. That's why I got you guys to get up and stand up and say your name, because I want you to be confident. I want you to start knowing that some of you are going to be on council, some of you are going to be chiefs, some of you are just going to be rich. I just want to see you driving around in a nice, good car and with lots of money. You can create it. You can do it. Miigwech. Yeah. In Shoal Lake, I'm not sure exactly what it is that they have in terms of TLE, Treaty Land Entitlement. I don't know if you've signed an agreement with the Government of Canada regarding Treaty Land Entitlement, but Treaty 3, 640 acres per family of 5 is what they had. So you do have possibility for new lands. They didn't complete the 640 acres per family of 5. So we'd have to do a little bit of research, but I'm pretty sure that you guys are entitled to, the one thing is very clear is that you're on both sides of the border. You provide the water for the city of Winnipeg, and so you have a lot of, you have leverage over the government, but also one of the things that I want to make sure that people understand, we never got money. We never got free money from the Government of Canada. What the government did was that they tax all the people that are living in our land in the Treaty Number 1. There's over about 1 million people in Treaty Number 1 area, including the city of Winnipeg, Brandon, Steinbach, Morden, Winkler. They have, they pay, the white people pay 50%, almost 50% of their income to the government in taxes. So they kind of blame us sometimes, but it is the government that taxes them. It's not us. And the government did not pay. They did not make payment to us under treaty. They provide funding, but that's not payment. So it's very important for us to move on the benefits of treaty. That was what was promised in treaty, that we would be paid for our lands, not get funding. So anyway, I'm going a little long here, but I just want to mention that we got a long ways to go. we have some, we have some differences in the way that we think about things, but I want to be able to make sure that Roseau River is financially independent. They'll be even bigger than West Bank, because West Bank, Kelowna is probably not more than about 160,000 people. City of Winnipeg is 740,000 people. So we can create urban reserves, and we can move forward. So, miigwech.
All right, we got about another half hour before lunch gets here, so we're going to call upon another elder here from the community, Mr. Peter Atkinson, who'd like to come and say a little here to the students. Your 15-minute starts now.
Bonjour. The Basana could name this cause. Mikinakan do them. Newing, Gipin to game a day going for fourth level Medevin. Just a continuation from what I said yesterday. I know you guys you didn't hear what I said yesterday, but I want to continue with the idea that when we signed the treaties, like it was clan leaders that signed the treaties, not chiefs and councils that we see now. They didn't sign the treaty. And along with the signing of the treaty comes compensation for that. The King of England said, for the use of your land, this is your land. This is your land. Where's that? That map of where the boundaries are? And this is your land. This is where the Creator put us, right here. Creator put us right here. He didn't put us in any. You guys must feel like you're an outsider in your own land. You must feel that way. But this is your land. This is all your land. All of it. Right here, right here. This is without the. This is the treaty area of the treaties, but the other one there, where our territory. Where our territory is okay. Well, this is always remember this is your land. Don't ever forget that. Anybody? There was a kid that was told one time, go back to the reserve. Go back to the reserve. And I told him, why didn't you tell him go back to your own country? Go back to your own country. No, you could have done that. He could have done that. No, not that one. The one without the provinces in that. And so, is that the only one? Historical treaties inherent right. Okay. Well, this is not our that's the treaties, eh? There's one there that has just our area. But you see the King of England when he said our farmers, for the use of your land, our farmers will give you 3% of their annual income. 3% of what the land that they take, 3% of their annual income. But that's not happening. They broke that treaty. That's not happening. They're not giving us 3% of their annual income. And the businesses, we could have went into the businesses too. They're not giving us 3% of their annual income. They're not. That's breaking the treaty. Anyway, there's our territory extends east, west, north, south, wherever our language is spoken. That's our territory. Now the treaty one, this is treaty, the treaty one area. I call it an area because that's just an area that was agreed upon. It's not a territory. That's what they say over there in the ballpark, in the football stadium. Treaty one territory. It's not a territory. It's an area. Our territory extends, like I said, from east, west, north, south, wherever our language is spoken. That's our territory. It has no provinces in there. There's none, none in there. I want to impress upon you guys that this is your land. This is your land. We weren't put any other place but here. This is where the Creator took 4 scoops of this earth and put together the physical body of Wenabujou. Wenabujou is our uncle. He was the first man ever ever set foot on this land. We came from there. There's a teaching about him and getting married to the firekeeper's daughter. And that's where we came from. Firekeeper's daughter and him had 4 sons. Kiweden, Jawan, Wabanung, and Nikabiun. There's 4 sons. They each went in each direction. That's where all the tribes came from. And like I say, I want to really put this into your minds that don't ever let anybody tell you this isn't your land. Never ever go into partnership with Canada. Don't ever do that. When you go into partnership with Canada, you're accepting being regulated by them. You're accepting that. This building here is being regulated by the province. It's not our own. It's not our own building. It's being regulated by the province. The guy that, when they put the machines in here, that one guy was just happy, yeah? There's a white guy, he was happy. Why is he happy? Because they're making more money than us. This is not your building. This is being regulated by the province or the government. So we got to go back to where we came from. Where did we come from? Where were we 200 years before the white man got here? Where were we? We were here. We were here. We are Anishinaabe. We were here. And we could do anything we want with our land. And when they say reserves aren't even legal entities. Because where did they get the right to say, we will give you 160 acres per family of 5? Where? They never got that right. We weren't consulted. Even if we were consulted, we wouldn't have given our consent to that. So reserves aren't legal entities. That's why they can't convert the land to reserve land, because they don't know how to do it. Like I said, I wish to really impress upon you guys the fact that this is our land. This is our home. The other people in Letelier, Dominion City, they're newcomers here. They're newcomers here. And those people, well, the people in general, they've done a lot to us. They've done a lot to us. But we got to put that aside for now and continue on trying to be who we really are. Who we really are. Who are we? We are Anishinaabe. We're not Indian. We didn't come from India. We're not Aboriginal. We are original. So Aboriginal rights, throw those things out. The government is trying to put everything on us that 2007, what they legislated that time was the duty to consult and accommodate. Now, what they tried to do right there is try to replace consultation and consent with that. They knew that. They knew they were to be consulted, and we would have to give our consent to anything that comes into the community. And TLE did not do that. It didn't consult with the clans like the way they did with the treaty. The treaty was the reason the treaties are legally binding is consultation and consent. The clan mothers were okay with the content of the treaties, and they told the clan leaders to sign off on it. I never call them chiefs, because chiefs is a derogatory term. It's a derogatory term. I never call them chiefs. Ganigan is what I call them, the ones that lead. That's what the clan mothers told the ones that lead to sign off on that document, making it legal. And they didn't do that with the TLE. They didn't come to the clans. They came to chief and council. They didn't come to the clans. And I don't think the clans would have agreed to it anyway. I don't think so. But because the fact that you're agreeing to be regulated by the government is why our clan leaders wouldn't have signed off on that document. Anyway, I want to impress upon you that this is your land. This is your home. This is where the Creator lowered your spirit into your mom. Your mom was here, your dad was here, and this is where you're from. We're different than other people. Like that two-row wampum belt that shows exactly the fact that two ships, one ship and one canoe go side by side. Neither one outpacing the other. And the laws and customs in their ship belong there. Customs and laws in our canoe belong in the canoe. They don't go back and forth. But what they did was in 1870. What year was that? When they legislated the Indian Act, 1876, they came and they brought their laws and their policies into our land, into our canoe. They shouldn't have done that. Okay, that's good enough. I'm getting all worked up here.
Okay, again, Peter, thank you for coming up here and speaking to all of us and also to the students here. Boss man, what's next? We'll have the teacher from the school come up here, Josephine Harten. She's also the chairperson of the Treaty Land Entitlement, so we'll have her say a little here before lunch.
Bonjour. My name is Josephine Harten. I work at the school. I'm the vice principal there. Been there for many years. I just want to say miigwech for the invite for our students. I really think it's really significant for our learning too that that we always involve our students, our children. They need to be acknowledged. They need to understand that all this information here, you know, we're trying to pass it on to you so that you can understand it. Even if you just take just a little bit, that'll be good enough for now. It's a lot of information. I also am the chairperson for the trust, an elected position. I had a lot to learn there too, and I still do. One of the things that I think about for our students, our family and community is that, yes, we have the total membership I think is about 2,700 plus. 2813. And probably just under half live here within Roseau River, Roseau Rapids. And our housing is, you know, we don't have enough housing, and we're surely not going to have enough housing once our kids get to that age where they need a house in our community. So you really need to think ahead, like even at your young age, 12 years old, 10 years old, 11, you need to really think ahead of how you're going to provide for yourself and your family. I always think about our kids too, try to make them, put them to work, you know, and provide that structure and discipline within our classrooms. You know, we do that because we care for you and we want the best for you. So with that being said, I'm just going to say miigwech. Thanks for the invitation. Thanks to all the presenters. Miigwech.
All right. Again, thank you, Josie. We got about 10 minutes for lunch. Ken, you want to come up here? Dad will come back to you after lunch, or if we can fit you in there. This is Ken Henry, Senior.
We get Ken Henry is my name. I live in Rapids. Okay. I just wanted to mention one thing that I was reminded of by Charlie and on our treaties. My father and of course my uncles were in the military, and
when they came home, they were promised, I can't remember, 640 acres or so of land, but they gave land on our reserve to them. It was supposed to be separate lands off the reserve, so we could have had chunks of land from all the veterans, including the Nelson family and other families, the Sini families. And but it didn't happen. It was the land that was given on the reserve, which is okay, I don't know. Doesn't really make sense, does it? You know, you think about it. You know, well, here's your land. You know, my goodness. You know, my dad that's why we ended up in a far north end. It was nobody was living there, but my grandparents were living close by that area. So, but he was given the land there that was already owned by us, and so I just wanted to make that known that I don't know. I still haven't put it through my head yet, and Charles just reminded me of it, and I'm going to think about that for a bit. And I sit through some of these meetings with the Treaty One, and I can see that I don't know. If I wanted a piece of land and I bought a piece of land on Crown land, in fact, my grandparents, they were given the option of getting free Crown land, but they ended up having to pay for it. It wasn't a lot of money, but in their time, it was a lot of money. And any of you that are hunters would probably remember Mendocino, and that's where my grandfather and grandma stayed. And that chunk of land, I think, I don't know how many acres, it wasn't given to them. They actually bought it. Same with I think the Martins. Some of the Martins had another chunk of land over there too. But not too many families went out at the time. They were aware of it, but people just didn't have the money to pay for these little pieces of land. And but we were fortunate. We did have this piece of land. We still have it to this day, and believe it or not, we actually pay taxes on it too to the municipality in that area. And Piney, I guess it'd be Piney, Manitoba. And to this day, we still pay taxes on it, but I don't think, none of us are complaining. It's not a lot, $250 a year or something. So, but that's supposed to maintain whatever we got there. My uncle put in hydro, so we got hydro and everything happening there, but nobody lives there right now. So we maintain the area, and we want to transform it into like a historical site for us. And I know a lot of people used to go there and hunt, and that was a perfect place because somebody just reminded me when the hunters came out from Roseau, there used to be piles of deer carcasses hanging up on the trees and everything. There was it was a perfect place, and all the deer would be cut up and bagged, and of course given to members here in the community, and Rapids included. And I live in Rapids, so I run the local radio station there, and we're not going to be my broadcasting till I think December. I'm not sure, but if I can do it sooner, I'm going to try again. I'm just waiting for a few dollars, and of course it costs money to run a radio station, and it's 100.9 FM on your dial. We used to have it at 100.5, but we got there's a radio station in Grand Forks that just they're boosting at 7,000 watts, and we're boosting at less than 1,000 watts. So they just overcome us, and we had to change to 100.9. And we don't have a license, by the way. It's called an exemption. On a reserve, you're given an exemption, which means you can broadcast only 50 watts. But I know some guys in CRTC, which is the Canadian Radio and Television Corporation, and they were telling me, well, one guy that's a rogue CRTC member mentioned to me that you can go up to 1,000 watts and they can't bother you. So we're on a reserve and we can go through 1,000 watts. Anything over 1,000 watts, we have to go through the province and the feds and everything, and just like I guess NCI. NCI has a huge broadcasting, and they can well, they're huge now, and we're a small radio station, so we just. I think I'm promoting my radio station here. Anyway, I just wanted to mention that about our treaty rights, and by the way, the treaty right that we have for our radio station, we can broadcast anywhere, and we're talking airspace too. You know, not too many of us talk about the airspace. We own airspace also. So when vehicles or planes go over us, you know, they're coming into our airspace, and so when we transmit, we're transmitting our radio waves into our airspace. And if guys in the Winkler get it, or Altona, or whatever, fine, you know, enjoy the station. That's 100.9 FM on your radio station. Okay, that's all I have to say.
I'm going to maybe finish up some of my thoughts too regarding in the time of treaty, our people went to war. Oh no! At the time of World War II, some of our members they went overseas. And they fought, and some of them died in overseas. And I remember Joe Hendry. Is that right, Ken? Yeah. Joe Hendry didn't come back, and he had uncles, and his dad went. His dad was Albert. He came back. And there was Clifford. And there was, is there another one? Yeah, okay. And then there's Louis Nelson and Tony Nelson. They went. And there was also Steve Sini, and then there was other ones in other wars, even Korean War, and we want to tip our hat to Tommy Prince, too, who's one of our native veterans. They died pretty poor. They don't have the lands. You know, other veterans, they were given lands. And veteran affairs should be approached, and that we should have maybe a letter stating that there should be more lands given to our veterans, so that the children and the grandchildren of the veterans, they could have these lands. So maybe we should make a note to make a statement, a document that documents that we were shortchanged. It seems funny, but why would they tell our veterans, use the land in your lands? But other veterans get land, but not us. So I think that's a discriminatory to our veterans. I'm getting kind of worked up here too. But it's good that we think about what happened. You know, these are some of our people went to war, but one of the things that great grandpa did for one of our band members was he left the war, and so one of the things that we cannot be conscripted. First Nations people cannot be conscripted to fight in the war. But we had volunteers that went to war, and it was not an easy place to be. Yeah, there's lots of memories about war, and it's not an easy time to remember. So I'm just going to leave it at that for now. And I think we're waiting for the food. And we're going to talk some more hunger here. We still have this afternoon, so we're going to try and cap up some more stuff that we can go into other items like the equity clause. I want to remember that. And Richard is going to have some time at the mic here too. And it's an open mic, so if anybody needs to air some things about treaty, add some things, you know, that's going to be a really good time yet to finish up our project. And if we need to do some more research, we should do some more research on some of our, and that Prezi. Yeah, I would like to put this thing into a Prezi presentation, package, so that you could put something on veterans, put something on expansion clause, put something on equity clause, health, education, all these little things. We should have we could itemize these things so we can have a good treaty knowledge. So I'm going to give everybody a break for now. I don't know when our food is going to get here. Okay. Okay. So we're going to take a break from the webcam or whatever we call this live stream. So take a break, maybe about an hour. All right.